And we start in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. This is a pro-life prayer for our President and public officials. Lord God, author of life and source of eternal life, move the hearts of all the public officials and especially our President to fulfill their responsibilities worthily and well to all those entrusted to their care. Help them in their special leadership roles to extend the mantle of protection to the most vulnerable, especially the defenseless unborn, whose lives are threatened with extermination by an indifferent society. Guide all public officials by your wisdom and grace to cease supporting any law that fails to protect the fundamental good that is human life itself, which is a gift from God and parents. You are the protector and defender of the lives of the innocent unborn. Change the hearts of those who compromise the call to protect and defend life. Bring our nation to the values and have made us a great nation and society that upholds the values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Mary, Mother of the Living, help us to bear witness to the gospel of life with our lives and our laws through Christ our Lord. Amen. And we have if we look towards the flag, we like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to have a song by our threesome over here. They're going to sing the national anthem for us. And Janelle, she's going to lead.
You're welcome to join in, of course. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Very nice, thank you. And right now we're just going to have a moment of silence for those who have died over the past year. This would include William DeMett, Joseph Collins, Kent Young, Mary Devine, Sheila Toy, my father Joseph Florin, Vito Giordano, Bernadette Harris, and all the unborn children. Okay. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Rob Florin, and the person that's going to be helping me out is going to be Tom Byrne. He's our treasurer. I'm the chairman. Gerald couldn't make it here today. He's down in Florida, so he'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks before he got here. That's why he's not here today. So right now, I'd like to introduce maybe Rob Astorino. He'd like to say a few words.
Good morning. Have a seat. What a gorgeous, almost fall morning, huh? It's nice sleeping weather. I wanted to come down here to thank everybody for all that you have done for me in my career, and for all that you will do for all the candidates who speak for life this year. As you know, I am running for state senate, and we are in a dogfight like we always will be in any election that I run in Westchester. And some of it is because of my pro-life stance, but that's okay with me. And I appreciate you being here today and by my side every election. We need your warriors. We need you out there in the trenches for all of our candidates. And as you know, Albany is not only drifting left and left, it is torpedoing left and left. And they're fighting who can get further left and more radical. And just when you think they can't go any further, they do. And the abortion law that they passed, which is gruesome. And what I find is there's ignorance across the state that this was even passed. When you tell people that it is now legal in New York for pretty much any reason whatsoever to have an abortion up to the moment of birth, people's jaws drop and they say, no, you can't, that didn't happen. I said, not only did it happen, but they lit the Tappan Zee Bridge in lights to celebrate it. So this is what's happening in our world today, and we've got to fight back. We've got to educate, we've got to smile, and we've got to fight back on why this is so wrong and so immoral. And you know, they always love to say on the other side, common sense. We need common sense laws, especially when they're talking about the Second Amendment. Well, boy, do we need some common sense abortion laws. And no, we understand in this room that it's never going to be completely outlawed, certainly not in this state. But there can be some reasonable restrictions that, by and large, we can convince so many people in this state that we need to roll back and have protections and fight for the unborn. And we can go the distance, and we will go to the mat all the time. But it's out there. We just have to open up the hearts and minds, and we have to keep fighting. So thank you. I appreciate you being here today. What I was going to ask, actually, just to make it more normal as part of the times, is if everybody can stack up and we can pretend we're having a Zoom meeting. That might be better. No? But just when you thought this year could not get any crazier, we get the news last night of Justice Ginsburg passing away. And because we are pro-life, and because we take every life seriously, you know, we will pray for her. We will pray for her soul, and we will pray for her family, no matter our disagreements with her on policy. And that seems to be the difference between the two sides these days. So keep her in your prayers. Keep the president in your prayers. As, you know, if you thought the Justice Kavanaugh fight was bad, that's going to be like two kids playing in a sandbox. I mean, it's going to be so crazy over the next 45 days. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden the violence and the rioting and the arson stops and everything just shifts to abortion, because that's what they do. And so we need you to be out there every day. Our fight is a fight worth having. We need a reasonable, balanced approach in Albany, which is so missing. So that's the voice I want to bring, and I want to bring change. And we not only have to reopen this state. If you saw yesterday, the unemployment in America is 8.4%. You know what it is in New York State? 16.5%. And so we really need to make some changes in Albany. So we don't want to just rebuild or reopen. We want to rebuild. So I need your help again. Emily is here. There she is. Afterwards, if you can sign up and make calls from your house or come on up to our headquarters in Thornwood or do whatever you can do, it's going to be much appreciated in the next 45 days. So they might have the activists who are screaming and yelling and chanting and not knowing what they're screaming and chanting about. But we have you, and you do know what you're chanting about. So thank you for being with me every step of the way. 45 more days to go. Let's win this. And I appreciate you honoring somebody who is not only a friend of mine, but as a pro-life champion and clearly, and I say this proudly, a rising star in our party and in New York State. And so we're glad to have, and I thank you for honoring Matt Slater today, the supervisor of Yorktown. So I wish I could give you all a shake of the hand or a big hug and kiss. So just know that I am here and in here. And God bless you all for what you do. Keep me in your prayers. And thank you for your help that you will do over the next 45 days. Let's win this, okay? God bless.
I also like to bring up Judge Gurian, I think it is. He's running for county judge. So if he could say a few words for us. Thank you.
Good morning and thank you. I'm Middletown City Court Judge Rich Girton, and I'm running for State Supreme Court Judge in the 9th Judicial District. I just spoke to someone who said, I live in Harrison, I can't vote for you. You can. The district covers Orange, Rockland, Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester counties. And so I see Maureen here running for Congress. Her district is part of mine, and Shell Farley is the other part of mine, so it's a big district. As a judge and as a judicial candidate, I'm not supposed to talk about the issues. Like Rob Astorino could approach what he did, and he can say that. They like to keep us judges kind of quiet because we're not supposed to take sides. That's what a judge does. You're not supposed to take sides. But let me give you some facts. I'm on the Republican and conservative line. I am the only conservative, registered conservative, on the state Supreme Court ballot. There are 4 positions. I'm going to be the first one on the left on the Republican and conservative line. My wife is here of 35 years. My campaign manager, Eileen, whom I met while we were both in St. Joseph's School in Middletown, New York, many years ago. Well, only a few for Eileen. I will also say we homeschooled our kids because we had had enough at that point. Thank you. And a few more facts. I've stood on the life chain. I've prayed outside the Planned Parenthood. And I've gone on the March for Life with my kids. So, having said that, and as I say at other events, this election is about the soul of our nation. You all know it is. Thank you. It's a spiritual battle. We all know it. I expect all of you will get out and vote. But we need more. The battle is strong. We need to talk to friends and families to get out and vote so that our vote is multiplied. I'll stop with that. I'll just say congratulations, Supervisor Slater, and to those honorees today. And may God bless us all, and God bless America. Thank you.
I'd also like to bring up Maureen Byrne, I think it is. She'd like to say a few words.
Hello, my name is Maureen McArdle-Schulman. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 7th Congressional District. The Right to Life movement is very special to me. I found out at 22, a senior in college, that I was pregnant. My friends told me to have an abortion. I told my parents. They were upset, but my name is Maureen McArdle. I now have the most unbelievable, almost 39-year-old daughter. And thank God I have her, because after I had her, I had 2 miscarriages, I had a second child, and that child died at 21 years old. So she is my only child. The right to life is so important to me, and when I found out I was pregnant and I was a senior in college, I had to sit in the front row, in the front seat, because I'd have to get up and throw up. Everyone knows who's pregnant, it's horrible. But it was worth it. I felt such protection for this child that I was carrying that nothing was going to harm her. And I took care of her. She was a big baby, she was 10'10". So you can imagine how big I was. But anyway, the best thing I ever did. It was the best thing for my husband, it was the best thing for me, and it was the best thing for 2 families. So I appreciate all the work that you do, all the prayers that you have, and I just hope you consider voting for me on November 3rd. Thank you.
So, okay, past honorees. Just to mention their names, Richard and Marie Brand, if you just want to raise your hand or stand up. Rob Estorino, who's been here, he was a past honoree. Rosemarie Tyrone, 2015. Pat Godfrey, 2016. John Mark, who's not here, 2016. Myself, 2017, Rob Florin. And Tom Byrne, also. And last year, New York State Assemblyman Kevin Byrne. Okay. Current honorees, Joy DeCharle. Okay, let me just give you a little introduction in here. Hold on one second. Joy is actively involved in the pro-life movement and social justice issues for many years. In 1990, she received the Disney American Teacher Award in Hollywood for the play about child abuse in conjunction with the Lincoln Center. In 2006, Joy joined the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life Committee under the dictatorship of the late, great Alan Meldew. She suggested and coordinated a pro-life journal with articles and ads to support the pro-life work of the committee and the pro-life candidates for political office. The journal continues to this day. Joy was the chairwoman of the 2019 Women's Equality Day reformed events at the Westchester County Legislative Building. Joy is a loving wife to Joe, who's here, proud mother of 4 sons, and the mother-in-law of their respective wives, and grandmother of 9. Please join me in recognizing 220 Westchester-Putnam Right to Life Political Action Committee honoree Joy DeCharle.
Thank you so much.
You want to say a few words first?
Well, I wasn't going to say a few words. I was just going to be so honored to receive this award, and I feel like I'm receiving it for every one of you, because everybody out there, you know that, and I know that all the work that goes into this. And there is no more important subject than life. And I'm very appreciative. I think that anything that we can do, please be sure to keep this fight going. Thank you. What is it? Thank you.
I have a proclamation here for you also.
Oh, okay. That is really beautiful. Yeah. Oh, this is Noreen.
Yes, this is,
This one is Noreen.
yeah, this is, Okay. Oh, thank you. All right. This proclamation is from Mary Ellen Odell, the Putnam County Executive. And it reads, the proclamation, congratulations to Joy DiChiaro upon being honored by the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life Political Action Committee during this pro-life gala autumn harvest breakfast to be held in Riverview on September 19, 2020. Joy has been dedicated member of the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life PAC since 2006. She suggests and coordinated a pro-life journal which still exists today. This journal contains articles and ads to support the extraordinary work of the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life PAC, as well as pro-life candidates for public office. Joy is also involved in other social justice issues. She was honored with the Disney American Teacher Award, as we heard before, in recognition of the play and wrote about child abuse. She also served as chair of 2019 Women's Equality Day reform events in Westchester County Legislative Building. Joy and her loving husband Joe and the proud parents of 4 sons. They have also been blessed with 9 grandchildren. Her dedication to the protection of life in all stages and inspiration to us all. It is with great pleasure that I assign my hand to the proclamation, and on behalf of everyone in Putnam County, congratulations to Joy DiChiaro upon her well-deserved recognition of Westchester-Putnam Right to Life. So thank you, Joy.
This one's Maureen.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, this one here. We have 2 more. This is citation.
2 more separate.
Yeah.
Can you read them all?
I don't know if I should read them all,
I
but
don't
this
think
one
so.
is from Kevin Byrne. Okay. This is the citation from New York State. And this one is from the town of Yorktown. And this is from Matt Slater. Maybe I should read this one. Okay. Town of Yorktown proclamation to Joy DiChiaro. Whereas it's fit and proper to recognize the achievements of those individuals who substantially contribute to the vitality of the community and this entire town of Yorktown. Whereas the town of Yorktown is proud to acknowledge the esteemed public servant Joy DiChiaro, who has distinguished herself in her community. Whereas Joy DiChiaro has actively been involved in the pro-life movement and social justice issues for many years. Whereas Joy, in 1990, received the Disney American Teachers Award and joined the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life Committee, suggested and coordinated a pro-life journal with articles in support of pro-life work, committee and pro-life candidates for political office. The journal continues this day. She was the chairwoman of 2019 Women's Equality Day, a loving wife to Joe. And now therefore be it resolved that I, as duly elected town supervisor of Yorktown, Matthew J. Slater, along with the town and board of members, Yorktown, do hereby offer our thanks and appreciation to Joy DiChiaro. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. May I just have my husband stand and my 2 sons?
Sure.
I must have my dear husband of almost 60 years stand because he has been with me this entire time, through this whole fight. Please, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, our next honoree will be Noreen DiCarlo. Noreen DiCarlo is a registered nurse with a specialization in mental health nursing and a master's degree in theology from St. John's University. Now, personally, I think between those things, it'd be very hard to fool her. And she worked for 10 years as a nurse clinician doing crisis intervention and psychiatric evaluations and the psychiatric emergency room at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx. She later served as assistant director of nursing and managing Managed Care Coordinator for the Department of Psychiatry at Jacobi and North Central Bronx Hospitals. As a young nurse, she co-founded New York State Nurses for Life in 1979. Since retiring from Jacobi, she has been a volunteer counselor with the Sisters of Life. Noreen has published numerous pro-life articles. She gave the keynote address at Women's Equality Day in 2016 entitled Hope and Ambivalence in the Suicidal Patient, and spoke at this event last year. Please join me in recognizing 2020 Westchester-Putnam Right to Life Political Action Committee honoree Noreen DiCarlo.
This is yours now.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And there's proclamations here for you, the same thing as
Okay.
Can you hold? Here.
you know,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you want to say a few words,
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
and then I'll read the proclamation.
Well, I'm allowed to take this off up here, so it's a nice and refreshing thing to be able to do. Anyway, I'm just going to say very brief few words to thank the Westchester-Putnam group for this honor, which it truly is.
Is the mic okay?
Is this better?
Close.
Okay. All righty. I just want to thank Westchester-Putnam Right to Life for this honor. And like Joy, really, this honor is for everyone working in the pro-life movement. But in particular, I would like to take a moment to honor and thank a few people who inspired me in the early days of the pro-life movement. First, the late Margaret Grady, with whom I co-founded New York State Nurses for Life. Really, at her urging, Margaret Peg was a nurse overseas during World War II. She served in the Veterans Administration Hospital as a nurse in the Bronx. And after retiring, and she devoted herself entirely to the pro-life movement. So Peg, this is also for you. And also I would like to honor the late Barbara Mara, who was chairman of the New York State Right to Life. Barbara was a friend of mine, as was Peg, and she encouraged us in our efforts as we were beginning our new group. I would also like to honor Jean Head, RN.
Yes.
I met Jean when I was still a nursing student at the City College, Mount Sinai School of Nursing at City College. Jean was tirelessly proclaiming the humanity of the unborn in the early 70s, even before Roe v. Wade was passed, was decided. And when virtually no one, or very few people, were paying attention to this issue, I remember attending a lecture, and she was brave about it. She would go into churches, anyone who would listen, and she would give talks. I attended one talk that she gave on the Upper East Side to a Mensa Society group. Can you imagine? And she took some pretty tough questions from them, but she stood up well and inspired me. Jean was a neonatal nurse in the neonatal intensive ICU, intensive care unit at St. Vincent's Hospital, the late St. Vincent's Hospital, unfortunately. She came to New York from Omaha, Nebraska, as an aspiring actress, and she was very talented. But post Roe v. Wade, she decided to give up her career in acting, and she devoted herself entirely to the pro-life cause and to her work at St. Vincent's. She was probably still is the chairman of Manhattan Right to Life, and she has been the UN representative for National Right to Life. She represented us at the population control summit that they had in Egypt years ago. And lastly, I would like to mention Monsignor William Smith. Many of you may remember Father Smith. I knew him as Father Smith. He was a friend and supporter of us in our nursing organization. But his clarity of mind, his acerbic wit, and his unwavering fidelity to the truth inspired all of us, all of the aforementioned people, in our efforts, and still does. And finally, I would like to mention my brother Joseph DiCarlo, who is a poet and an artist, but because he suffered a massive stroke in 1996, he cannot be here. He's unable to speak. He's had multiple other medical problems following that, so he's in a nursing home in Portchester. He was ill with the coronavirus. That's where he picked it up, and has had multiple problems from that. But he survived. And I thank the Lord for that and for his spirit. Before having his stroke, he wrote many pro-life songs, poems, paintings in which he upheld the preciousness of human life. He was a grammar school teacher, and as I say, a poet and an artist, and he still is, even though he can't speak. He does some beautiful drawings of a religious nature, which are very inspiring. And I would say that he is a bit of a prophet. I'll quote a very brief little stanza from a poem that he wrote. It was actually a song in the 1970s after Roe v. Wade, called Rainbow Promise. And he wrote, "If heaven touches earth with every birth of child, the rainbow means that heaven with earth is reconciled. And abortion means the fairest, the meekest, and the mild will disappear like sunlight in a world that's dark and wild." Unfortunately, we are seeing some of the manifestations of this in our society today. I think that the legalization of abortion has marked a turning point in our civilization. Actually, a turning point, a turning away from civilization. And that is our mandate. Our mandate is to stand up for life and to restore civilization as God gives us the grace to do so. But last, I cannot neglect to say thank you and to honor my husband, Robert. Because since Joe had this stroke and he does not have a wife, he has no one else to care for him, my husband and I have been his advocates and caretakers and friends. And Bob has given up countless Saturday nights to assist me and support me in my care of Joe, taking him to church. He's been a patient and loving brother-in-law. He's treated him like his own brother. And whenever a decision had to be made between some material goal that we might have and caring for Joe, he made the decision easy by always reminding us and saying, people are more important than things. And so, I said this was going to be brief. It is. And so Peg, as they do at the Academy Awards. Peg, Barbara, Jean, Father Smith, Joseph, and my beloved husband, Bob, this is for you. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. Supervisor Matthew Slater graduated Yorktown High School in 2004. He was recognized by the 914 Inc. as a member of the Westchester Wonder Kids class of 2015 and previously worked as the Chief of Staff for the New York State Senator Terrence Murphy. Prior to his time in the State Senate, he spent time as the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Republican Party. Following the 2012 election, he formerly served as Mid-Hudson Regional Director for the New York State Assembly Minority Conference. Matt Slater has previously served as a top aide to Westchester County Board of Elections Commissioner Douglas Coletti, a campaign manager with the New York State Senate Republican Campaign Committee, Chief of Staff for State Assemblyman Steve Katz, and a regional coordinator for the New York Republican Assembly Campaign Committee. Matt Slater received his undergraduate degree in political science from St. Anselm College, where he was a volunteer for Rudy Giuliani's 2008 presidential bid. He holds a Master's of Public Administration from Marist College. Matt and his wife reside in Yorktown and have 2 children. I'd like to introduce you to Matt Slater. Please come up.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's fantastic, and it's an honor to be here with our friends from the Westchester-Putnam Right to Life organization. I want to thank Rob and Tom for putting on a fantastic morning for us. And who's got it better than Gerald, huh? It's a little warmer where he is, but we want to thank Gerald as well for his incredible dedication to this important cause. Also, let's hear one more time for Joy and Noreen for their incredible contributions and recognition. Thank you very much. And it was always great to see our good friend, former county executive Rob Astorino, our next state senator, right? From my standpoint, though, it's a bit of a bad morning when you have to follow Rob and he speaks. He's pretty eloquent, isn't he? The good news is I don't have to, move the mic around too much when I follow him. So it's about exactly the same height. We usually wear the same clothes, too. We've done that a few times. So it's always good to see Rob. Like I said, it's an honor to be here. And for those who may not know me, my name is Matt Slater. Proud to be a product of the town of Yorktown, where I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. Today, my wife Kelly, who's with us right here. Today, my wife Kelly and I continue to call Yorktown home. We're raising our 2 children in Yorktown. Charlie, who had his first day of kindergarten yesterday, so it was a big day in our house, and our daughter Elizabeth, who just turned 1 last month. Oh yeah, we've got the young ones. Last November, I was elected to serve as the town supervisor. There's some debate as to whether I'm the youngest supervisor of our town. Our town dates back to about the American Revolution. But I assure you, what I lack in age, I make up for in experience. Previously, I served as Chief of Staff to New York State Senator Terrence Murphy, a fellow Yorktowner. As everyone knows, Senator Murphy was a champion of life and benefited from the tireless efforts of many people here today. And it was funny also because as I was reading and reviewing the previous honorees, I knew some of those names very, very well, including Assemblyman Dr. Steve Katz, someone else that I served as Chief of Staff for during our time in the Assembly. Of course, County Executive Rob Astorino, former New York State Senator Greg Ball, as well as County Legislator Michael Smith, both of whom I know very, very well. Of course, our dear friend Alan Meldow, and New York State Assemblyman Kevin Byrne. The funny thing about Assemblyman Byrne is I've known him since we were 15. And if you know Kevin at all, you know he's got a thing for bagpipes. And I can tell you, he's good now, but at 15, he was awful. But I spoke to him this morning. He sends everyone his absolute best. He wishes he could be here, but him and his wife, Bree, have a little one of their own now, who just rolled over for the first time. So they are enjoying the greatness of parenthood today. And he wishes everyone and sends his best to everyone. And he provided proclamations to our honorees as well as challenge coins as well. So like I said, I was Chief of Staff to New York State Senator Terrence Murphy. And I remember our very first election in 2014. We were seen as the #1 race in New York State. Money was pouring in on both sides. After the election was over, actually, we were seen as, I think it was the 9th most expensive race in the country, including congressional races. It was crazy. So we had money pouring in on both sides, and volunteers were showing up to our office from all over New York State. As we came down the stretch, we had a meeting with our consultants from Albany, and we were going over our strategy, where we were assigning volunteers, and they asked me about the train stations. Where are the train stations in your district, and who's covering them? Well, I had a big old grin on my face, because if you've campaigned as part of the Right to Life Committee, you know train stations are a specialty for the Right to Life Committee. And I'm not talking about those easy 6 a.m. shifts either. Right, Ed? I got Ed Riley right here, captain of the train stations. Ed and his sister Regina, thank you so much. To Ed and Regina and to all of your volunteers, you've proven to be essential pieces to successful campaigns time and time again. That 2014 race, we were supposed to win or lose by 1 point. That's what all the polls were saying. We won by more than 10. Won by more than 10. That's right. And in 45 days, you heard him here earlier, with your help, we're going to do it again with Rob Astorino. And it's going to take your help. But as we look back at the 2014 election, we see the importance of checks and balances. We see the importance of having 2 relevant political parties in Albany, and we see the importance that the 40th Senate District has on New York State, because for the following 4 years, when we had a senator like Senator Murphy and soon to be Senator Astorino, we had a senator who stood up to the dangerous and radical policies that are now being pushed through Albany without pause. We had a senator who stood up against legislation like the Reproductive Health Act. Not only was he a senator, but he was a health professional, Dr. Murphy, who pushed back on an agenda that had the full weight of New York City behind it. Now look at our state, or better yet, look at New York City. The product and the headlines speak for themselves. As town supervisor, my arena has indeed changed. My focus is now the day-to-day operation of a $55 million business, as I see it, that serves nearly 37,000 residents, and that number seems to be growing every day. I've had more conversations about garbage pickup and stop signs than I ever thought possible. But never in my wildest dreams or wildest nightmares could I have prepared myself for the challenges that we've faced so far in 2020. On my second day in office, I'll never forget it, I was riding high. I had woken up early that morning. Kids were still asleep. Kelly was still asleep. I poured myself a nice hot cup of coffee, and I just wanted to sit at the kitchen table and just take a deep breath. Except right when I poured the cup of coffee, the chief of police called. And I knew I was going to have a bad day. And I just knew it. And we had a string of vandalism that struck nearly all of our religious institutions that morning, going from St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Mohegan Lake to the First Presbyterian Church on 132 to even the Old Stone Church of St. Patrick's. We've dealt with that. We've dealt with a global pandemic. And most recently, a hurricane that left thousands of our residents without power for more than a week. And with the media-led circus focused on November, I fear, and I've heard it here, the worst may still be ahead. I remember during my first week in office, which by the way still seems like a decade ago, I was holding a press conference about that string of vandalism that struck our community, and a resident was sitting in the boardroom waiting for the press conference to start, and when I walked in, he said, "Not what you signed up for, huh?" And I snapped back, "No, this is exactly what I signed up for." I very quickly stopped saying, "Why me?" and I accepted that I was in the position I was supposed to be. Thank you. This mindset and this faith helped me during some of the hardest days that I ever had to endure, most notably as we lost neighbors and loved ones during the height of the COVID pandemic this spring. As I said earlier, what I lack in age, I make up for with experience. Working for a man like Senator Terrence Murphy taught me so much, both professionally and personally. One of the things we always talked about during our late night walks back from the Capitol to our apartment was the importance of a moral compass. We live in just a crazy, crazy world. A world filled with temptation, led by greed, and often governed by the corrupt. If we as a society are going to defeat these evils, we must do so through our reliance on morality. In his farewell address, President George Washington identifies the importance of morality in government, saying, and I quote, "'Tis substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. The rule indeed extends with more or less force to every species of free government." Those igniting debates about the sanctity of our forefathers often ignore their advice on morality as much as they ignore the word experiment. Our forefathers recognized the importance of morality in government even if they failed to practice it themselves. But that's America. It's an ongoing experiment. The greatness, I believe anyway, the greatness is not found within our perfection, but in our acknowledgement that we are imperfect. The greatness is in our ability to follow that moral compass, to remedy a wrong. We all know the world is complicated, and these days, despite its best intentions, at least we hope it's its best intentions, government always seems to find a way to make bad situations just worse. Whether it be in the state senate, the Westchester County Board of Legislators, or simple town supervisors. We need leaders who make decisions based on right or wrong, not right or left. With New York State in such peril, we need leaders with a moral compass to remedy the wrongs and restore faith in government. It's going to take a lot of work. And it means, Ed, it means more 4 a.m. trains for you. But it also means accepting that we are all right here, right now, in the place that we're supposed to be. And I just really want to thank you all again for inviting me just to say a few words today. Again, I want to thank and applaud our honorees. And I just want to say, may God bless you all, and may He continue to bless this great, great nation. Thank you all so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is unexpected. I appreciate it. I wish I didn't have to accept it with a mask. I feel like I'm playing poker.
You can pose without it.
Sure.
Without it, yeah. Well, thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
There's some other pro-life leaders that I'd like to thank that are here today. Elizabeth Lambert, who's in the 40 Days for Life with White Plains. Right to Life Party, Ed Riley, Maura Riley, Sarah Tarrant, Peter Marengo, who are here today. Tom Ferranda, the Hudson Valley Coalition for Life and Life Rigid. Merrill Turchi, former director of Life Options Center, and husband Sal. Peg Doherty, Respect Life Society of St. John the Evangelist, Mayapack, and other members of in the audience. Frederick and Angeline Guida, Respect Life Committee in St. John's of St. Mary, Chappaqua, and Camelo Ships and Respect Life Committee of St. Gregory the Great, and 7 other members of attendance, including Carmelo's wife, Conchita. Thank you.